Let's get in Devang Mehta, VP and Head of Equity Sales at Anand Rathi Securities, who joins us right now as well. Devang, thanks for joining in. A word really, since we're on the topic of sugar, you would have, of course, seen the news as well. How big a positive, if at all, could this be for the sugar companies? It adds something to the bottom line, but could this meaningfully change the fortunes of these companies? They are trading at new lows, of course. Can this news propel the stocks higher?
Afternoon, Neeraj. We feel that it's a short-term positive, in fact, and a lot of it seems to be factored in the prices. Why we say this? Because it's finally the reform is seeing the light of the day, which has been talked about, I think, from a long time. But what is the ground situation currently is that the demand-supply situation still remains adverse, and I don't think they have the pricing power with them. So we still feel that the sugar prices would remain subdued. So I don't think there will be any material gains for the companies to come. Probably as the sentiment has improved a little bit towards the sugar companies, there will be trading gains, but not much investment stand from here on.
It seems to be fairly shaky when it comes to the overall fundamentals plus the technicals for the Nifty, Devang. So what's the, how large is the threat looming that we could perhaps even slip below those crucial levels of 5,000 on the Nifty in the long term?
I think, in fact, things are seriously very bad at this point of time. What we see is one of the worst time for macroeconomic data. You talk about GDP data, you talk about current account deficit, or we talk about the vehicle sales numbers or cement dispatch. I think a lot of pessimism seems to be there, and market is reflecting this sort of pessimism in the prices that we are currently seeing. I think we have made analysis that on a valuation basis, EV per sales, we are currently at around 1.6, and that is around which time the market bottomed out around 2008, 2009. So I think probably valuation at this point and the price points that we are seeing are very attractive. So probably there can be some bit of dismal behavior by the market in the next coming 10 to 15 days because there are not much cues except the earnings season. So probably I think somebody who has a little long-term horizon, say 6 months to 1 year, should start nibbling into equities and that to select equities. I think that will give fantastic returns over a longer term period.
Great. Devang, a word on IGL really. You would have heard the rumor as well as we did about an out-of-court settlement, which of course PNGRB sources told us is out, not really happening because they are saying there's no chance of softening the stance on IGL. The hearing's slated for the 16th, so there's some 11 days away. But what do you do here? Because we also hear that the council has submitted that PNGRB doesn't have a control on the marketing margins, which may eventually lead to the case being ruled in favor of IGL. If indeed that happens, trading at 10 times currently, is there significant upside room for IGL to move?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of upside for IGL still because the stock has been in the limelight because of only this case. Probably the company is doing well fundamentally. There is nothing wrong with the company. Only this case has remained an hangover over the company. And overall, I think oil and gas sector seems to be re-rated at this point of time. And this is one of the key stock. So probably I think something like ONGC, Oil India, IGL, Petronet, LNG, all these companies would tend to do well in the coming few days.
What's your view when it comes to earnings for the overall banking space, Devang? Because the consensus seems to be that loan growth will be fairly stable. Net interest margins may see a little bit of pressure, but are there any stocks from the private space or the public space that you're expecting an outperformance when it comes to the Q4 earnings?
We have just come up with our earnings report for the banking sector as well as NBFCs, and we feel there would be a little moderate growth in the NII as well as in the loan growth. But I think probably the treasury income would be good for a lot of PSU banks. So we feel that at this point, I think ICICI Bank, Yes Bank, IndusInd Bank, ING Vaishya, Karur Vaishya, all these banks in the private sector will perform doing well continuously. They have seen quarter-over-quarter improvement in their NIMs as well as in their asset quality. So we feel that the private banks will continue to do well. Among the PSU banking space, probably PNB as well as Corporation Bank could start doing well in the coming quarters.
Lastly, actually a couple of other stocks that I wanted to ask you about. There is a belief, Devang, a belief of course, that in this earnings season there would be a dismal show by a couple of auto companies, one of them being Tata Motors, which could well post a 30 to 35% drop in profits. The other one being a Hero MotoCorp, which could actually post a 20% drop in profits. What's your view?
Yeah, probably Hero MotoCorp. We also feel the same. We have a sell rating on Hero MotoCorp. At this point, the two-wheeler, the scenario doesn't look to be quite encouraging. But a lot of the Tata Motors numbers will depend upon JLR, and I think what pans out in the JLR in the coming few days would be a thing to watch. And I think the stock has corrected big time. So I think we would be buyers in Tata Motors if there is another 3-4% fall. And Maruti would remain our top pick in this sector, as again Maruti benefits because of what is happening to yen and what has been done by the BOJ yesterday. Plus, I think a lot of new models will be launched by Maruti, as well as new variants are going to come. So I think Maruti will remain our top pick in auto sector for some time to come.
Devang, before we let you go, what would be your top investment themes for today?
I think, as I said, we would currently like the banking space. There are two things to it. If somebody wants to play strength, then I think the strength will be seen in the FMCG as well as the pharma universe post Novartis case. I think people are currently trying to re-rate what is going to happen to Cipla as well as Netco Pharma, Dr. Reddy's. All these local companies would tend to do well in the coming scenario. Or if somebody wants to play a little bit of weakness, I think probably banking as well as capital goods have seen a big amount of correction. So as I said, ICICI Bank, L&T, all this would be our top picks for some time.
On NTPC as well, it's 3.5% off on all that news about no coal supply. Now the coal ministry directing Coal India to supply at least 50%.
I think probably yes, it's again, as I said, a little bit sentiment positive for NTPC, but I don't think anything material is going to come for the power sector, and it's still ailing from such fuel supply agreements and all these things. I think we would stay away from the power sector at this point.
Like all, but maybe a small shot in the arm for NTPC, if not anything then from a trading perspective. Devang, appreciate you joining us as always on this leg of Market Sense.